Counselor Accents Podcast. Two school counselors who love their jobs. Oh, and they happen to have Southern accents too. Bless their hearts.
Before you start listening, this is just a disclaimer. I've recently moved, so I don't have a recording spot figured out just yet, and I apologize in advance for the echoey sound. We also want to make an announcement that our first book, Growing Your Program for School Counselors, is now available. You can order it on Amazon or other major book retailers. If you order it right this minute, maybe it'll be on your porch by the time this episode is over. We would love to see a picture of you reading it in your favorite reading spot, so tag us on social media. And when you're finished reading it, and only if you love it, leave a review on Amazon. And finally, if you are starting to think about heading back to school, you may want to check out our resources on Teachers Pay Teachers. We have paired up with other school counselors this week who have items that will make your return to school a little easier. If you're listening to this July 23rd through July 27th, search BTS Counselors on Teachers Pay Teachers. Each day there will be different freebies, items marked 50% off, and some $2 deals. Check back each day, Sunday through Thursday, because the sale items change each day. If you've had your eye on a bundle of lessons, this is the week to shop. Search BTS Counselors on Teachers Pay Teachers to find all of the sale items made by school counselors for school counselors.
I'm Kim Crumbly.
I'm Laura Rankhorn.
And together we are Counselor Accents, and we're doing a little summer fun, little different, doing a short little podcast on summer reads. And we were having a conversation about this, and we were like, why not share this with our listeners? But I think it was because you didn't want to hear it twice. Like, don't tell me about your books. Let's just put it
please just stop. Save it for the podcast.
Yeah, that was basically it.
Because, a lot of times in the summer, people are traveling or you are sitting by the pool or whatever, and it's just always nice to have that summer downtime where you're not maybe so focused on looking at data. Absolutely. But you can actually read for pleasure or even read something that will help you in your school year.
So I would like, if I may.
Yes, you have the time.
Are we jumping right in, or do we banter?
Do you have a banter? Is there anything to banter? There's always something to banter.
There's always something to banter. We can banter about yesterday. I took you to the hairdresser. To begin with, who says hairdresser?
The same people that say pocketbook.
There are people who still say pocketbook. They wear a slip. They're going to wear hose with sandals, and they're going to go to the hairdresser. So anyway, you are a weirdo in that you'll just show up anywhere to get the hair done. Like who do you use? I'll just go to whoever will have me. And so you just show up to whoever.
You're calling me a weirdo for just going to whoever, but you are also a weirdo in a different way because you sit out on the back porch and let your mom cut your hair with Fisker
scissors that have some dried glue on them. I know that, and that's why the hair is up.
So you're very judgmental to be somebody that
I am always judgmental. That is a bend that I need to work on.
Okay.
But I'm not really judgmental. For those who are listening, I'm not. I'm
just towards me.
Just towards her. Because she loves it. I drop her off at the hairdresser, Hair or Us. She don't care.
I don't care.
And I go to the orthodontist, which I'm the oldest living orthodontist patient in our county. So I'm sitting in there with a bunch of 13-year-olds, and they're looking at me like, why are you here? But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And while I was there, and let me just say, I have and I mentioned it in I don't know when this will air, but I have a tongue thrusting problem. And I don't know if your child has a tongue thrusting problem, they need speech. That's the only way you fix it. Well, I didn't get speech, so I'm still thrusting said tongue. I've had braces, Laura, 3 times. 3 times I've paid for braces. So I have not been back to the orthodontist since pre-pandemic, and I'm fully expecting to get my 4th set of braces. Now, the last one was the Invisalign. So that's why I went.
I did not know. Like, I just thought you were going for a quick checkup. I didn't know until after what your actual purpose was. And I didn't know until just this moment that you were expecting to get braces for a 4th time. And I feel like this is some trauma I could have
But
held
I
your
needed
hand on the way there.
you could have helped me. I
Yeah.
had braces in 4th grade. I had them when I was 19, and I had them probably about I had Invisalign about 10 years ago. So, my teeth are constantly moving. But they had put these permanent retainers in, and, like, you need to get those checked too. Well, I had to bring the retainer that I have not put in since pre-pandemic, and you were here all day yesterday, and I really meant to clean that retainer. So I get there, and they wanna see if it fits, and I pull it out, and it is like I'm like he's looking at me like, "Put it in." I'm like, "I ain't putting that thing in." That thing has been sitting somewhere for years now.
You called it
We had a
furry.
lot of fun.
When you were explaining it
Furry,
to me, you
I
said it
didn't
was
wanna be
furry.
disgusting, but I'm like, I don't what am I gonna what kind of disease am I gonna get from putting this in my mouth? But anyway, good news, my teeth have not moved any at all, but he did tell me that if I ever needed them again, that they've even got a better the Invisalign was, like, so easy compared to the 2 old-timey, what they had back in the
Headgear.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so anyway, I then got in a storm and had to get back around to get you at Hairs or Us, and, you know, it was quite an afternoon.
That was an afternoon. I'm intrigued by what they can do that's better than Invisalign. It
I
makes me want to go get braces.
It just continues to evolve. It
Yeah.
just continues to evolve.
Well,
So,
I had braces when I was 22. I got braces just on the top from like one pointy tooth to the other pointy tooth. 'Cause I
yes.
one tooth, my mom called it a protruding flaw. So my protruding flaw got fixed at the age of 22. I had them on for 2 months. And
Oh,
the glue, I'm going to tell you that there's a reason why kids have braces for 4 years. It's so that glue can start to chip off, because it was not yet ready for those to come off. And so it
ugh.
took the orthodontist, I'm not kidding you. He was in my chair with me, pulling on my teeth. The nurse was grabbed hold of his waist, pulling him. It was 2 people trying to pull these braces off of my teeth. They ended up chipping one of my teeth
I
during
feel
the
like you went
process.
to Braces or Us, like you go to Hairs or Us.
I did not. I went. It was. My
It was
mom's
legit.
place. It was legit, and yeah. So anyway,
Well, your teeth are lovely.
well, thank you. I still wear my retainers. It is not. They're not in the bottom of my purse furry. I wear them every night. So
Well, I
there's.
told him I need you to tell me to wear them. And it was funny because there's a bunch of little 13-year-olds in there. And he's like, so he said, you need to wear them. I said, no, I need you to dig deep and I need you to use your stern voice. And of course he was laughing, but he was like, you better wear and that really scared the kids.
Okay,
So,
good.
you better wear it. I was like, okay, now I'm going to do it
Now
because
you get it.
now I get it. So I didn't wear them last night, but I'm going to.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know. I've got to get back in the habit of it.
Mm. Well, I feel like under my tutelage, you will get in the habit of it. I wear mine every night, so I'll just call
And I
you
don't know
at
why.
6.
You're not a tongue thruster.
Can you not mosey on down to the speech room at your school and just sit in for a
You
session or
can't teach an old dog new tricks.
two? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that you need speech. I heard you say the only way to fix it is by getting speech. And I'm
It
like,
is. You're a tongue thruster. They can help a child and they won't continually be pushing their front 2 teeth out like bunny rabbits.
well, you're a cute bunny rabbit.
Well, thank you. Well, let's move right on to
Okay.
now that everybody's tuned out completely.
And they're making orthodontist appointments
and they're
because
making orthodontist appointments because they're
they
feeling
also
guilty
have
not
a
wearing the retainer
furry retainer
at
from, yeah.
68 years old. All right.
Tell us
So
what our topic is today. Well, I
today
think
we've already talked about it, but we're going to
Okay.
revisit. We're going to talk about summer reads, what
Yeah.
we're reading, because I said again, you don't want to hear it from me.
and you made categories for us, right?
I did not. I was
Oh.
going to, but I'm just going with it now. So we'll
Okay.
just take turns in however the spirit leads. So I have been reading, and it is a fascinating, fascinating read. And obviously a lot of people have read this book, and it's just new to me.
Okay.
But I'm reading.
Well, you've blurred your background. So you're just going to have to tell us.
Oh,
Plus, people listen, they don't watch.
okay. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. So, like, so interesting. There is a movie, but I have not watched the movie, but I've heard the book is better. But it is fascinating. It's a fascinating read. And for all of our biology and all of our science and all of our doctors and all that, anybody who took biology, obviously not your thing, but you hear of HeLa cells, but
This
this
is
is,
the one you were telling me about. Okay.
and you totally tuned me out. But HeLa cells are actually, they came from Henrietta Lacks. And so just, I mean, it sounds so medical. It doesn't sound like it would be interesting, but it's such an interesting read that, this was decades ago, and they took her cells. They didn't ask her. That the family didn't know, but the cells never died, and so that kind of launched this whole medical revolution in this multi-million-dollar industry. And her own children didn't have money for medical care, but yet millions were made off of her sales. Are you frozen or am I frozen? Oh, you just checked out. Okay, I got it
Well,
now.
you've already told me these things, so you're telling our
Okay,
audience these
so
things.
our children don't find out until 20 years later, and it really kind of dives into the lives of her children, and they lost her. She died back in 51, but of course her cells have lived on, and it has been like, it was vital because though, to make vaccines you have to have cells, and so it was vital to the polio vaccine and to gene mapping and all this stuff. So it is, her cells have been bought over and over and over and over and over again. There's kind of a little, since we live in Alabama, there is some things about Tuskegee in here. And so it's just a lot more than just that medical part of it. It's the lives of the people who were doing the cell investigation. It's the life of Henrietta Lacks and her family. So I don't know. It's just like, how in the world, it's just fascinating. It's like it's science fiction, but it's real. Okay.
Amazing.
So that has been my read of late. Your turn.
Well, I feel like you started out with a nonfiction book, so I'm going to go with a nonfiction book that I am planning to read this summer.
Okay.
And it's called Crucial Conversations, and my husband's actually the one that found it. But it talks about how, we're very Southern, and sometimes as Southerners, we beat around the bush and don't really say what we need to say, but people respect just those honest conversations. Like sometimes people want to improve and we're too nice that we don't, or not nice, but we're too.
Now I know why you were talking to me like you were
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. I
Crucial
gotcha.
conversations.
It was a crucial conversation you had with me on how I
Yes.
could be better. And
Yes.
I was not angry. I said, thank you for your critique.
Yes. But it's just teaching people how to maybe not beat around the bush and maybe just get to the heart of what you want to say in a way that still preserves all the relationships. And I think it would be very helpful, especially for counselors, when sometimes we have to have those tough conversations with students. Sometimes we have to have those tough conversations with parents and even with our coworkers. And so I'm going to put that's on my list and I will let you know.
Oh, I am excited about reading that. I think that is really a good read.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. But there are some people who don't need to read it because, or maybe they do need to read it because they say whatever comes across their brain and they don't care about hurting other people's feelings. So, and then there's those of us who, and again, I think a part of that is that Southern, we just, everything's good. Yeah, thank you. When we don't mean that necessarily.
Well, and sometimes that leads to resentment whenever you're not really able to say what you are thinking or want to say. then that resentment builds up. And so I believe that this book, Crucial Conversations, would be a way to avoid resentment and, just get to the heart of the matter.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to do a fiction that
Okay.
I am reading.
Okay.
And this is an old classic. And I don't know, I am like Gothic, Jane Eyre.
Gothic. That's why you dress in black all the time.
That's okay. You know nothing about literature. So this is like, I can't believe I've not read this book. I saw the movie, which was with Cary Grant and Olivia de Havilland. It's called Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And am I saying that right?
It doesn't matter because
No, everybody knows her. She's a very famous author, but it's Rebecca is the name of the story. And I've had it on my shelf for years, and I've just never read it. And I can't believe, because it's kind of a mystery, kind of a romance. It is an older book, but it kind of has that Jane Eyre feel. But it was written in 1938, so that it is an older book. But I'm reading that now. I picked it up because my favorite book is Jane Eyre. And, but I'm a huge Jane Austen fan also. So I like period pieces. And I can't believe I've not read this one. So I'm reading Rebecca as a fun book.
Very good. Well, I read 2 fiction books while we were gone, and they were recommended, and I thought, we'll just give them a try. And so one is called, and I would recommend reading them in this order. One is called Just the Nicest Couple, and the other one is called Local Woman Missing. So I would recommend, like I said, read them in that order. I think if I had read them in the reverse order, I don't think I would have liked Just the Nicest Couple as much. Now, I do want to say that this does not bother some people, but I wish that books had a rating system, like, how movies have a rating system. And if you don't like to, if you don't want to watch a rated R movie, then to stay away from it or watch it with your VidAngel or whatever. I do wish books had a rating system, because you get into it and then all of a sudden, maybe there are some words that you wish you had not read. There might be a language warning for some people, and for some people you might enjoy that. And so if that's the case,
I will read it and then say the words.
Do it. Yeah. Add it to your vocabulary. Add it to your Crucial Conversations. So anyway, just be aware that there may be some language in there. So
I am so tickled, because knowing you,
nobody cares.
Like crap or something like that. And you're like, okay, I
cannot read this anymore because they say
I'm
the
done.
C word, crap.
Okay, well, and you enjoyed them. Are they? You didn't tell me. Are they mysteries? All I know is they're pornographic. I don't know if they're mysteries.
Right.
I don't know.
They are suspenseful. It was not something that, sometimes you read those mysteries or suspense thrillers or whatever, and you think, I'm scared to walk through my house right now. I'm scared to walk by a window. I didn't have that feeling on this. But I was in suspense, and I thought I had it figured out the whole time, and then maybe I didn't. So anyway.
Oh, I like that. And I know you like a good mystery, so I'm not surprised at all of that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so my queue is Hidden Valley Road: Inside the Mind of an American Family.
What is that?
This is
the book.
You never listened to me, but yes, I've already told you about me wanting to read this book too. This is a family that has, I believe, like 9 sons, and 6 of them have schizophrenia.
Yes, I remember you telling me
that. So this was, like, I think they were having, now this is back in the 60s, and I think they were having, I think that their genes were taken maybe without their being aware, but this was like the first time that they were seeing genetic markers for schizophrenia, and it kind of revolutionized the genetic research for mental health and the treatment and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of goes into probably how mental health was treated at that time, with lobotomies and institutionalizing and all of that kind of thing. But it was it looks like kind of a wealthy to do family. And then they did have 10. I'm just seeing this. They had 10, and 6 of them were diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that was the question, like, how could this happen to one family? And so they were kind of genetically looked at, and that was like the beginning of that. So that's I was reading this other book, so I didn't order this when I had a friend of mine start reading it, and she called me. She said, I cannot put it down. So
Oh, wow.
I'm excited to get through with these others so I can start reading that. I guess I'm on that kick of the
Yeah.
genes and how different medicine was, and just the whole concept of those in that day, especially in the 50s with this other book I'm reading, is that there was a thing called the sympathetic, like the response the doctor could give you could be his own discretion whether he thought you could handle the truth.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. And so
You needed to read Crucial Conversations.
absolutely, he did. And so you might, have 2 months to live, and they're like, "Well, you're fine, Mrs. Crumbly." It was just
Interesting.
it is interesting. And of course, now all that's protected, all your,
Mhm.
history, medical history and all that. And especially, taking genes without people even knowing that they're taking your, whatever your cells or that. But anyway, I
I
guess
wonder if there's a study. I wonder if there's a study on did that prolong anybody's life? Like they had 2 months to live and they said, "You're good, you're healthy." Did it?
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess the scary thing about that was you were leaving it at the doctors were not
Giving you the
clear.
treatment.
I mean, they were, they were seen more as their word was the word,
Yeah.
and so now people have more control of their medical um, treatments and that security of their information and all that. So that stuff, just how that's evolved and
Yeah.
are evolving. So that's good. So now, is it your turn now? It's your
My
turn now.
turn. Yeah.
Okay.
I read a book called A Serial Killer's Daughter, and it is the daughter of the BTK killer from years ago. It is her story as his daughter and what her life was like growing up, and just the fact that they had no idea that her dad was doing all these things. And you see these stories on the news and you think, how did you not know? Like, and you think,
Yeah, I
I
never
think
get
I would have
that.
suspected. But when you read her side of it, you're like, oh my goodness, I see where she had no idea. It was fascinating to me. And then, she was an adult whenever they finally found out who he was.
Don't give too much away.
I won't, but that's common. Like that's common knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm not going to give any of it away. But it was very interesting to me. So,
Ah, let me just ask this one question. Was he a good dad?
well, it's hard to say yes when you know what
Because
his
he's a
private life
serial
was.
killer. I know. I know. I just didn't know what her perception of him was.
Yeah, he was a good dad according to her.
Her. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And to be a monster. It's
Oh,
crazy.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So I would recommend that. Just it was fascinating to me just to think that those two worlds, they don't go together. He was, according to her, a great dad and doing all the dad things and showing up at all the parent meetings and,
That's scary.
yeah.
I am now going to, and you can do podcasts because I know you don't watch a lot of television,
Okay.
but in the summer, I like to catch up on some shows. And
Okay.
you know that I am in love with Wonder Years because it is a comedy, but yet it's a revamp of the old Wonder Years, like from when we were younger. Wonder
Mhm.
Years. Do you remember Wonder Years?
I do remember Wonder Years.
Okay.
Fred
Okay.
Savage was like a heartthrob.
Okay. Well, yeah, he
And
was
you liked his dad. You had a
and I
crush on
like
his
and
dad.
let's just go ahead and say that. So it's kind of a revamp, but I love it because it has the Alabama tie. This one is set in Alabama, and I don't know if the other one was. I don't remember
I
that.
don't remember that it
But
was.
this one is set in Alabama, and it's set in the 60s, and it is a Black family in Alabama. And so you're dealing with that whole transition, how turbulent the 60s were. But they're funny. It's insightful. It's we love it. My family loves it. So I am addicted now to, and I think the dad may have been on the Cosby Show. He's been on something. I can't remember what he was on, like when he was a young guy. So now, of course, he's grown and he's the dad in this one. But I don't know. It's just so stinking funny. I love that show.
Well, good. I'll have to add that to my watch list.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay. And I know
Well,
you're a podcast, probably.
well, let me say this. I know all of our listeners know who Laura Ross is, but she's been the queen. So every now and then she will post what she's been watching on Netflix, and it's always like she writes it up to where you think, oh my goodness, I have to add that to my list. Or
okay.
She's watching Hulu or whatever. So she recently posted like things to do in Atlanta, and I was like, let's give the people what they want. We want a list of what you've been watching on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. So she did put together a list. So if you follow her on Facebook, then you can go look at her list of things that she's been watching. But she watches a lot of documentaries. And those documentaries that leave you like, what in the world? So I've watched a few of the ones that she's recommended. So I will defer to Laura Ross's list. Yes.
Okay.
But I will say, you did mention podcasts. And so I do want to tell you about a podcast that I've been listening to. So a couple of years ago, I listened to the series called Dr. Death, which I hear myself and like, I'm telling you to read some suspenseful books. I'm telling you to watch the story or listen to the story of read.
No wonder you don't want VB to go anywhere. My goodness.
I'm paranoid. But read the story of BTK. I hear that. But a couple of years ago, I listened to Dr. Death, season 1 and season 2, and it talked about these doctors that their patients died. And I do think that the situations between season 1 and season 2 are very different. I would be up for discussion on that for anyone who's listened to that, because I will stand by my theories on that. But anyway, so it was one of those podcast series that really left you wanting more. Like I wanted more updates, whatever. So I recently ran across Corpus Delicti. Corpus Delicti. It's a podcast series. 2 friends talk about these cases, and they recently did a series called Do No Harm. It's about doctors who have, whether through accident or whether through negligence, whatever, their patients have died. And so if you listen to Dr. Death and wanted a little bit more, I would recommend Corpus Delicti. And I think these women are from Birmingham, Alabama. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Try to get them on.
To talk about murders.
I think it'd be interesting. Well, and listen, I hope that everybody's listening to both of us. This is supposed to be light and summer, and we're talking about gothic novel, and we're talking about
we're sick people
where there's people have genetic, they're doing the testings on genes. It does sound like. Now, didn't you used to listen to Down the Rabbit Hole?
I loved Down the Rabbit Holes. They stopped doing their podcast. But
it's a show now. Do you know that?
Huh?
Like there's a show now that they're advertising that's going to start coming on that's Down the Rabbit Hole.
I'll bet it's a different one. No, the hosts of Down the Rabbit Holes, they recently shut down their podcast and stepped away from podcasting, and I'm sad about it, but I'm sure it's still out there. And they just talked about missing people, like people that had gone missing, and then they sort of threw their theories around to each other on what they thought might have happened to this person. Were they abducted? Did they die? Did they leave their life?
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of interesting to listen to their take on it and put the clues together and see. And the only thing it left me frustrated at the end, because like I wanted some sort of closure, like tell me your theory, but then tell me what actually happened. So if anybody knows of a podcast like that out there, I would love to listen to that.
Yeah. Well, and I will end with, and I have drove you crazy about this one, and I can't believe that you didn't say tell us about this one, Kim. But Food That Built America. I think that's the name of it. But that is, I've heard other people talk about it, so I think it's the history. It is the History Channel, not I think. But so I've heard other people. So this must be a bigger series than I thought it was. But it's intriguing. It doesn't sound like it would be intriguing, but it's these. It starts out years ago, like in the 1800s, and it builds up on these big food giants like, Post Cereal or General Mills or Heinz or Milton Hershey. So it is really interesting, and I keep telling you about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to believe what's happened now.
It's like a soap opera.
It is like a soap opera, and it kind of all.
So where do you watch
that? That's on the History Channel.
Okay.
Yep, that's on the History Channel.
I don't know if it's your storytelling of it, but you make me want to go watch that. And it's not a show that I would ever have run across and thought,
no, me either. I would not have watched this. It was on, and I got intrigued, and I absolutely love it. And so it's a good one. It's just fun to step away from life and take a break and just get involved in a podcast that takes you away, a book that takes you away, a show that takes you away, and it just broadens your horizons, if you will, and I think makes us all more well-rounded, and it's a great coping mechanism. So you've got some time in the summer. We hope that we introduced you maybe to something new.
Well, and a lot of people are interviewing over the summer, and one of the common questions is, what are you reading right now? And so,
every person that we interviewed for jobs at our school, we said, what are you reading now? Everyone.
I would recommend maybe not some of the books that I've said about.
Don't be creepy. Don't be creepy.
Yeah.
Be,
maybe some of the ones you were more.
That's what Laura has said.
Right. You were more educated. Although the BTK story, you can make some conversation points around that, because
conversations.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for a job interview, they may be saying,
weirdo.
Why is such an interest?
Yeah. It was so interesting, though. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, wait. Let's just say a book that you might want to add to your.
What?
A book that you might want to to add to your to-read list is our very own book, Growing Your Program for School Counselors. And we are so excited about it. So
it has been a 2-year journey in getting this book written. And it is I have to say, it's an easy read, but it's very informative and it's funny. So it's just fun. If you can imagine taking your job as a school counselor and adding the fun and the spice in a book form, this is the book for you.
That's so well said. And we wrote it, but the number of times that we went through and read it again to edit or make changes or whatever, I would be laughing out loud because you're funny.
You're funny.
Well,
and we love what we do. And we know you love what you do too. So we hope that you add this to your reading list.
Yes. All right. So you can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. And pretty soon you can purchase our book, Growing Your Program for School Counselors. Let us know what you think.